I remember in 2011 was the first time I heard Barack was black people's biggest enemy. My big brother was like, "Oh hell no, man! Barack trying to keep us down, bro." I said, "Damn, Mac, why you say that?" He said, "Bro, that nigga just killed Gaddafi, bro." I knew about Gaddafi back in 2011, but I had to do my homework. Mac started telling me all kind of information.
One, in Libya, there was no payment for electricity during Gaddafi's reign. Electricity was free for all citizens. Fuel, education, and healthcare were almost free or close to nothing for most Libyans to afford. Two, with an excellent management of oil revenues, the Libyan state had managed to store hundreds of tons of about 143 tons of gold, according to WikiLeaks, and the same amount of silver. All these resources were going to make Libya the most influential country in Africa, supplanting France, for instance. Three, there were no interest on loans in Libyan banks and state-owned financial enterprises. Loans were given at 0% interest rate by law. Four, living in a house was a must-have issue for all Libyans. Gaddafi even found that his parents would not get a house until everyone in Libya had one. In fact, having a house in Libya was considered a human right. Five, all newly wedded couples in Libya received money from the government to build their new apartments. Six, necessities were given out freely or at very affordable prices to Libyans to better their lives. Amongst others, all these were seen as provocative and dictatorial to those who were not in support of Gaddafi's projects, which at the end culminated to some fighting and subsequent killing of the revolutionary leader of Libya. All these other reasons why Gaddafi was killed are gotten from the Muslim Times media source. Gaddafi even carried out the world's largest irrigation project in Libya, the Great Man-Made River. This project utilized giant pipes to send fresh water from the Nubian sandstone aquifer system, fossil aquifer, across Libya, and it was fully funded by the Libyan government. No loans from the IMF or China. Unfortunately, NATO forces intentionally and under strict orders destroyed this irrigation system, and even went further to destroy the factory or the pipes for this project were manufactured. This was a project that was aimed at helping Libyans. So why destroy it? If your goal is to free the same Libyans.
Just imagine that. My boy, they was over there living, and there was no homeless people. No homeless people. Everybody had either a flat or a home, a house. And then what that video didn't tell you, everybody who lived in Libya at the time all got a check every month just because they live on the land that has oil there. Healthcare was pretty much completely free. Education, like higher education, pretty much completely free. Like you can go over here, you can go to Harvard or wherever you wanted to go for college, almost free on Libya's money. They had it. They even said the newlyweds was getting a big old check and basically money to get their apartment or pay for whatever they needed for their apartment. But that ain't what got him unalived. He was working on something that was going to really affect America and some other European countries' money. And it was going to just kill the US dollar. Like it was just going to make that irrelevant. Here it go.
Here is the real reason why he was killed. As earlier mentioned, Gaddafi was killed after being accused of several actions and attempts. Most especially his desire to put forth an African gold-backed currency known as the gold dinar. According to credible and reliable sources, he was not killed for humanitarian purposes, but for power, oil, and money. Gaddafi suffered torture from the Western National Transitional Forces before finally giving up the ghost at the Battle of Sirte. If Gaddafi had succeeded to establish such a monetary system in Africa, the United States of America, Asia, and Europe would have been forced to buy oil and minerals in the African gold-backed currency, which would have tipped up sales. Gaddafi was strongly pushing this agenda via the African Union, especially when he was the chairman in 2009. The idea was greatly turned down by the Western powers because it will devalue their currencies and work negatively on their economies. And as a result, they would have less or no control over African countries. In other words, Ghadafi's plans for Africa would have put an end to neocolonialism. NATO's plan to kill Gaddafi is the same as that of Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was assassinated by the U.S., partly because he chose to sell his country's oil in the euro currency at the expense of the United States dollars. Now, the United States was scared and skeptical about the instability the gold diner will cause to its economy. Hussein's decision to sell oil in the euro was a blow to the United States, worsened by the proclamation that the dollar was the currency of the enemy. All these would have brought back another currency war, which in history was very common, especially in intra-Western and Middle East countries. According to the International Monetary Fund's report, Libya's central bank in 2011 possessed an estimated amount of 144 tons of gold in its vaults. Muammar Gaddafi envisioned the implementation of a gold-backed currency, anticipating its adoption by all African and Muslim nations. Despite harboring this vision, he was wary of potential competition with the euro and the dollar. How the United States got to know about the gold dinar. A senior advisor to the United States President Sidney Blumenthal indicated to his Secretary General Hillary Clinton through an email that Gaddafi's government was holding 143 tons of gold and similar amounts of silver in their bank. In late March 2011, these stocks were taken to the southwest direction of Libya's border with Niger and Chad. More heat was added to the matter when former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, who also had interest in Libya, learned about the gold and silver that the country had. He also, therefore, embarked on attacking Libya. Some of Sarkozy's plans was to gain a share in Libyan oil production, to increase their French influence in this country and North Africa, to improve his internal political situation in France, to provide the French military with a chance to regain its position in the world, and to address Gaddafi's plans of freeing the so-called Francos in Africa from the parasitic French control. Hillary Clinton, the then United States Secretary of State, after hearing this, sought to prevent creation of such a currency in Africa. This hard currency would have allowed Africa to shake off the last heavy chains of colonial exploitation in the continent. The allegedly leaked email of Hillary Clinton had far-reaching implications on the fluid state of post-colonial relations with the West. If this is to be likened to something, then it is an eye-opener where Africa seeks to build an independent economic structure. The West is seen to try and derail those plans so as to retain its primacy in world affairs. That is why Gaddafi saw an unexpected death, due to his desire to get Africa and Muslim states a new currency.